Tech promised to make our lives easier, to keep us connected and free us from mundane tasks, but somewhere along the way, humans became the inefficiency to eliminate. Today, we're diving into AI-first mandates where executives are rebranding layoffs as innovation and digital transformations. Let's examine how the rush to implement AI is less about enhancing human work and more about replacing it entirely for shareholder value.
AI can already do all of the jobs that we as humans do.
What? I don't agree with that at all. I think most people wouldn't agree with that. At best, AI is like a junior employee at this point. I mean, is he claiming that AI can do plumbing? That it can even be like a software engineer? I know tech bros keep saying that they're coming for our jobs and all of that, but the AI is just not good when it comes to solving new problems.
It's just a question of how we apply it and use it.
You seem pretty easygoing about AI replacing you, but how do your employees feel?
Yeah, he feels easygoing about AI replacing him because he's the CEO. He would never allow it to happen. She says, how do your employees feel? Well, I actually know how some of them feel because I have friends working at the Klarna Stockholm office. They feel overworked. This is just my opinion. This is what I hear from other people, that essentially they've made the engineers cancel subscriptions to certain software that they use, and instead they want them to build the software themselves. So outside of all of their regular responsibilities, they're now responsible for reinventing a new software that they used to pay a subscription to. That says like as much details as I want to give on that. The sentiment that I hear is that people are only still at Klarna because Sebastian, the CEO, keeps alluding to the IPO coming up, and so employees have stock options and they want to cash in on that stock, but they have to remain at the company and they don't know when this IPO will drop, and so they're kind of shackled to staying there because they don't want to miss out on the company going public and then potentially making a lot of money. Kind of the only reason that they're still there.
Well, I think what we've done internally hasn't been reported as widely. Is we stopped hiring about a year ago, so we were 4,500, now we're 3,500. We have a natural attrition as every tech company, so people stay about 5 years, so 20% leave every year. And by not hiring, we're simply shrinking, right?
That's not accurate. That's definitely not accurate. Actually, I'm going to go on LinkedIn to make sure. Okay, he said Klarna has a natural attrition, so people leaving the company, every 5 years. But the median employee tenure is 3.4 years, and median is obviously more accurate than average. People are not staying for 5 years. I don't know where he's getting that data. Maybe that's old data. Maybe that's before they did these massive layoffs. That does not seem to be the case now. He also claimed that they're not hiring, that they went from 4,500 employees to 3,500, but when we look at LinkedIn data, it says they have 4,700 employees and that they have been increasing their engineering department, which is interesting considering they claim to be using AI for everything. Not software engineers, though.
And by not hiring, we're simply shrinking, right? What we've said to our employees, though, is what's going to happen is the total salary cost of Klarna is going to shrink, but part of the gain of that is going to be seen in your paycheck.
Come on now. Come on now, Sebastian. What is this? Yes, you have natural attrition. You shrink. If you're not hiring, naturally you're going to shrink because people get new jobs, they relocate, their spouse gets a new job, they relocate with their spouse, right? So yes, naturally people leave the country. Well, maybe the country. I left the country. But they leave the company for numerous reasons, right? But if you have a team of 8 and it shrinks down to 6 and you're not hiring 2 new people, those 6 people are now taking on and redistributing the work of those 2 people they lost. Now, the part that really sent me was the part when he said part of the gain will be seen in your paycheck. According to his own math, there should be money that equates to 1,000 employees that they could be paying for, that in theory, they should already be redistributing that payment to the current employees. They got a lot of praise in the media when they let go of 700 customer service reps, claiming they replaced them with AI. And I remember thinking, this is so dystopian that we're celebrating people losing their jobs. It was a very strange time, and now we're seeing it happen again with all these AI mandates. But regardless, I know it is very expensive to employ people in Sweden. It's very expensive for the company, and so I know they are saving a lot of money by not hiring and by laying off people and replacing them with AI. And so for him to claim that they're going to redistribute this money they're saving to the current employees, when will that happen? Because they've already laid off 700 people that we know of. They claim to have 1,000 less employees, which I don't think is actually true. I think it's just hype for their IPO to make it seem like they have more money, and so their IPO will debut at a higher price. Where is the money now? Is it being redistributed now? Not to my knowledge.
but part of the gain of that is going to be seen in your paycheck. So we're going to give some of the improvements that the efficiency that AI provides by increasing the pace at which the salaries of our employees increases. And that's because of that message being very consistent for myself and management for the last year. People internally, Klarna, are just rallying to deploy as much efficiency AI as they can, because it just means it has direct implications on their equity and their cash compensation for working at Klarna.
That's the part that I was speaking about earlier. It comes down to the equity. The employees are not rallying to continue building AI. From what I know, the employees are overworked because they've essentially canceled all of their tools that they previously used to do their job in favor of either using AI or building them themselves, and effectively creating more work for them to build those tools, but to also make up for the employees that are no longer being hired. These employees are just rallying behind the company. No, they're not rallying behind Klarna. They're sticking it out. They're holding on, patiently waiting for the company to go public. And people really thought it was going public. And it was, until Trump's tariffs and that kind of put the IPO on hold. And now who knows? Because obviously the global economy is not in a good state. It doesn't benefit Klarna to IPO right now. The whole point I'm trying to make with where tech is headed under capitalism is like, I don't think people want this. I don't even think founders want this, right? It's what the investors want at this point. And what the investors want is a high price for the IPO. They want a high price for the stock when they go public. And so they're forced to do all of these things claiming that it's innovative and that they're having this digital transformation in the market and they're going to be AI first. When in reality, it's just saving up more money so they can show, oh, we have more profit because we've not hired more people and we have in the past laid off people. So now we have more and more profits and therefore we're more valuable as a company. What I think in, 2020, they were valued at like 44 billion, something like that. Like they want to get back at that point. So then when they IPO, everybody makes a small percentage of people make a lot of money. And yes, employees will make money. That's why they're holding on to this. They're not holding on because they're like so pro AI, right? They're holding on because they've built up stock that they hope to cash out on. And good for them. I'm not saying anything bad for them. I get it. Life. So I'm not judging them for that, but for him to claim that, yeah, they're all rallying for the company. No, they're kind of chained to it. They don't want to lose out on that. They don't want to lose out on the time they've invested. Next up is a company memo sent out by the CEO of Shopify. And of course, I have thoughts. The memo starts, AI proficiency is now mandatory. Using AI effectively is no longer optional at Shopify. It is a baseline expectation for all employees, regardless of role. This marks a significant cultural and operational shift. Wow. My first thought is, how are they measuring and defining proficiency when it comes to AI? Do you need to understand how AI works? Do you need to understand inputs, weights, and outputs? Or is it just you need to understand prompt engineering? Like, what does that mean to be AI proficient if you're not a machine learning engineer? He then goes on to say that every role needs to be using AI. And I just don't know that every role actually needs to be using AI. It seems certain roles that can benefit from using AI, but I don't believe that every role actually benefits from AI. And what does that actually look like? If you're a salesperson for Shopify, how are you using AI? Like, are you using AI in your pitch? Like, I just don't see, like, does AI really need to be used? I mean, people have been doing creating sales material for a while, and they probably have a strategy that works for them. That's what made them good at being a salesperson. So I just don't see how AI is really going to improve that. He then goes on to say, non-use of AI requires justification. Employees must demonstrate why AI cannot be used before requesting additional resources, i.e. more staff or time. Stagnation is framed as failure. Employees are encouraged to continuously upskill and experiment with AI. So it sounds like this is the same thing that Klarna was saying, right? We don't plan to hire new people. Naturally, over time, we're going to lose people, and therefore we're not hiring, but we're not laying off. So this sounds eerily similar to what Sebastian, CEO of Klarna, said when they said we have natural attrition, we lose employees, and we're not hiring, so therefore the employees that remain will be like our core employees. And it seems like Shopify is taking that same approach. If your coworkers leave and you're given more work, now you have to justify why you can't do more of that work with AI. AI rather than just get new colleagues to help you do your work. And then stagnation is framed as failure. If you're not continuously growing and developing, then you are a failure. If you want an employee to continuously improve with AI, again, what does that look like? Is it just experimenting with prompts? I don't understand what that means. But also, are you going to allocate time for people to do that? Are you going to offer resources for them to do that? Courses, something? How do you expect an employee to do their full-time job and also play around trying to jailbreak ChatGPT? Like, I don't understand the logic here. He then goes on to say, AI in product development. AI must be integrated into the early stages, prototype phase, of all GSD, get shit done projects. This approach is intended to dramatically accelerate learning, iteration, and team collaboration. Did they just invent a new word for proof of concept? Can they not just say proof of concept? Do they really have to say get shit done for the prototype phase? Okay, fine. Something I don't understand, and maybe I'm just not seeing the big picture here, but why would you want to prototype with AI? Like, I understand if you're kind of bouncing ideas or answering questions, then I kind of get that. But if you're trying to invent something completely new, AI is running off of old data. It's not going to be able to invent something new. Like, it's just going to tell you what it's seen before. Why not take humans who are really good at brainstorming and bouncing ideas off of each other, put a bunch of engineers in the room and see what they come up with? He then goes on to say performance accountability. Shopify is adding AI usage to its performance and peer review criteria, making AI adoption part of how employees are evaluated and rewarded, including leadership and executive teams. This is similar to how companies try to track how productive software engineers are by Git commits and changes that they've made to the code or lines of code that they've created. As a developer, you know that it's just total BS, right? Because all it encourages you to do is to change code for no reason. Just refactor a function that was working perfectly, but you refactor it. Maybe you just change the names of variables and then you submit pull requests and that counts towards your productivity and you literally accomplished nothing. You may have even broke some other functions in the code. So to evaluate people on how often they use AI, I can see employees using AI for emails. Oh yeah, John reached out to me asking a question, and instead of just saying, yes, it's this, I just put it into ChatGPT and then it types up a paragraph for me and I send it to John, and John is like, what the F? Why couldn't you have just said it was this, right? Because they're being measured now on how often they're using AI, to what degree. People are going to do stuff like that. People are going to find these loopholes. We're human. We're good at finding loopholes. And so it's just total stupidity to put these performance requirements and reviews when humans are going to disrupt it. It's not going to work. And this doesn't even take into consideration the amount of fear and insecurity that they're creating for seemingly no reason, right? Your job may already be super stressful and you may be putting your all into your job, and then for the company to then say, you have to be using AI, we're going to review your performance based on how often you're using AI. It's just a layer of additional fear and insecurity that you may lose your job. Being forced to use AI takes away your autonomy, the ownership over your work, because now you have to do things in a certain way and you're being measured on it. And employees have to understand that if they get better at this tool, or if they work on and improve AI that the company may be building, they're essentially putting themselves out of a job. Like, it really feels like we're at the point now where we as humans are pushing a stroller and there's a baby inside of the stroller, but that baby is an AI. Pushing the AI in the stroller down the sidewalk, and we're teaching it all these things about our world, but eventually that AI is going to sit up, it's going to crawl out of the stroller, then it's going to start walking, and then it's going to start running, and we are going to be left behind. Next up is Duolingo, who also announced that they would be an AI-first tech company. So this is an all-hands email from the CEO, Louis von Ahn. I've said this in Q&As and many meetings, but I want to make it official. Duolingo is going to be AI-first. AI is already changing how work gets done. It's not a question of if or when, it's happening now. When there's a shift this big, the worst thing you can do is wait. In 2012, we bet on mobile. While others were focused on mobile companion apps for websites, We decided to build mobile first because we saw it was the future. That decision helped us win the 2013 iPhone App of the Year and unlocked the organic word of mouth growth that followed. My initial thought is, if you say AI first, that effectively means human second. It's interesting to compare mobile to AI. I understand he's probably doing it from like an innovation standpoint. They predicted mobile, so they hopped on building a mobile app. They see AI as being the next thing, so they want to jump on the trend and implement it. So I understand it's from a innovation point of view. Betting on mobile and betting on AI are so completely different in terms of humans, because when they bet on mobile, they still had web developers working on their website, maintaining it, building new features. So it's not that they stopped hiring developers altogether, right? I mean, they hired new developers to work on the mobile app, but essentially by being AI first now, they're not hiring web developers or mobile developers, supposedly. He then goes on to say, betting on mobile made all the difference. We're making a similar call now, and this time the platform shift is AI. AI isn't just a productivity boost. It helps us get closer to our mission. To teach well, we need to create a massive amount of content, and doing that manually doesn't scale. One of the best decisions we made recently was replacing a slow manual content creation process with one powered by AI. Without AI, it would take us decades to scale our content to more learners. We owe it to our learners to get them this content ASAP. So you're effectively saying that quality is no longer as important, but quantity is. And again, this is my whole point on tech being exploitative, right? Because they're saying we're doing it for our learners. This is our mission. One, I would argue that when you're learning a new language, you don't need more content, right? I've learned Spanish and I've learned Swedish, and both times when you learn a new language, you start with the basics, colors, numbers, the alphabet, basic things like you need to find the toilet, right? It's like those things don't change. How do you need more content for that? Again, an excuse where these tech companies are saying, oh, we're making this transformation and we're being innovative and we're focusing on our mission for the user. The user didn't ask for this. They didn't ask to be fed AI slop. It's like they can have a conversation with ChatGPT. That's not why they were paying for Duolingo, right? You can use talk to text with ChatGPT and you can learn a new language that way. They opted for Duolingo for different reasons, for quality. Before I moved to Sweden, I started learning Swedish on Duolingo. I literally studied for a year just on Duolingo, not even with the subscription plan, because at the time they didn't have the subscription. You could just use it and it was a really good app. The web version had forums and you could ask real Swedish people and have a conversation with them. And that was so beneficial, but they've taken that all away, right? It's like they've taken away the human aspect of learning a language, and we learn languages to speak to humans. Oh, we're doing it for the user, for our customers. Did you ask customer what they wanted? No, you asked the shareholders. You asked the shareholders what they wanted because you're a public company now and you need to increase your shareholder value. He then goes on to say, AI also helps us build features like video call that were impossible to build before. For the first time ever, teaching as well as the best human tutors is within our reach. Being AI first means we will need to rethink much of how we work. Making minor tweaks to systems designed for humans won't get us there. In many cases, we'll need to start from scratch. We're not going to rebuild everything overnight, and some things, like getting AI to understand our code base, will take time. However, we can't wait until the technology is 100% perfect. We'd rather move with urgency and take occasional small hits on quality than move slowly and miss the moment. Well, he just had what I was thinking out loud. They're not focused on quality. They're focused on quantity. It's also a message here. The AI needs to understand our code base. I use AI for coding. I don't use AI for everything because AI is not always good for everything. Even when it has your code base, it gives you some crazy functions that are breaking other parts of the code, even though it has the entire context. Also, my fear is that by using too much of AI, I stop remembering the basics. Like, yes, it is great that I can center a div with AI and I don't have to memorize that. But is that really good? If I can't remember the basics, is that really good for me as a developer and for the code base that needs to be maintained by other developers? I don't think so. We'll be rolling out a few constructive constraints to help guide this shift. We'll gradually stop using contractors to do work that AI can handle. AI use will be part of what we look for in hiring. AI use will be part of what we evaluate in performance reviews. Headcount will only be given if a team cannot automate more of their work. Most functions will have specific initiatives to fundamentally change how they work. Again, this sounds like exactly what Klarna was saying they're doing, that they're not hiring any new employees any longer, and they say we will gradually stop hiring contractors, so therefore they're not going to hire either, and they're going to have this natural attrition, and so eventually it will get down to a small number of people. And this is oddly eerie of what Elon did with Twitter or X, where he basically told people if they didn't want to be hardcore that they should leave the company, and a lot of people left the company, and now there's just like, some Elon fans that work there. But the quality, right? If you go on X, it's a horrible application now because it's not being maintained. So what is this going to look like when there's not enough engineers to maintain this code base? And again, with using AI to evaluate performance, you're just asking for your employees to do bad work. As humans, we already look for the easiest path. We're going to manipulate the system. The Duolingo employees are going to manipulate the system because they're scared of losing their jobs. They have an incentive to misuse AI. Why encourage your employees to do a bad job? I don't get it. All of this said, Duolingo will remain a company that cares deeply about its employees. This isn't about replacing duos with AI. It's about removing bottlenecks so we can do more with the outstanding duos we already have. We want you to focus on creative work and real problems, not repetitive tasks. We're going to support you with more training, mentorship, and tooling for AI in your function. Change can be scary, but I'm confident this will be a great step for Duolingo. It will help us better deliver on our mission, and for duos, it means staying ahead of the curve and using this technology to get things done. Lewis. How can you say that you deeply care about your employees when you say we're now AI first, which effectively means human second? That doesn't sound like care, that sounds like replacement. Again, the same thing that Klarna is doing. He is effectively saying, oh, we're not laying off, we care about your employees, we're going to keep the number of employees we have. So essentially what you're saying, you expect the employees that you have now to do more work. That doesn't sound like care to me. And it is effectively replacing duos or these Duolingo employees with AI, because I don't know what the employee size is now and their hiring practices. If we theorize that they used to hire 10 new people each month and now they're no longer doing that, well, that was 10 people that no longer have access to this company. That effectively is allowing AI to replace the jobs that they could have had. So while they may not be actively laying off people, they're withholding an opportunity to work at that company because they're employing AI instead of humans. And I really dislike when he keeps saying this is for the mission of Duolingo and for our customers, to better serve our customers with our innovation that's replacing humans. Who asked for this? Do not say that this is what customers want, because nobody's asking for this. Nobody's asking for lower quality and a probably higher monthly subscription, right? Because when you're deploying all these AI agents or even just ChatGPT subscriptions, who's going to pay for that? They're going to make the customer pay for it. And the customer's not asking for that. People are already fed up getting AI fed to them in literally every application that they use. No customer wants more AI in their Duolingo application. They want to have real conversations with real people in a human language, not talking to some AI. Again, why would someone pay for a Duolingo subscription to talk with AI when they can pay for a ChatGPT subscription and do the same thing? The thing that made you different was the human aspect that you're now eliminating. I wish CEOs would just say it like it is. Just say you want to replace employees with AI. Say you want to reduce your workforce. You want to reduce the cost of employment, and you want to invest that money into AI and automation. Ford is doing that. All these manufacturing companies are automating, and they don't really get any slack for it. So why not just say that? Why not be honest and say it like it is? Or is it not cool to say that? It's just cool to say AI, even though maybe you are still hiring, maybe you're actually offshoring developers, who knows? The CEO actually got some backlash both from current employees and from the public, so he then went on some damage control.
You came out with the news earlier this week that you're launching 148 new courses with the help of AI. I spent a lot of
First of all, 148, again, AI slop, quantity over quality. Do people want that? Do people want to pay a monthly subscription for that?
I spent a lot of time on TikTok. I know that the Duolingo team does as well, and there was a lot of pushback to this AI first push. And I wonder, what your response is to some of the concerns that have been raised about how this impacts the humans.
Why should she say it like that? I think it's such a weird way to say the humans, as opposed to what? The AI that you've now put before the humans? I feel like, again, this is like anthropomorphizing AI, where we try to give human-like characteristics to the AI. And it's weird to do that. I don't think we should do that because the AI is not sentient at this point.
Yeah, there's some real concerns about, of course, people and employees. We're a company that really cares about our employees. I think there was some misunderstanding. This basically, I sent an internal email, and there was some misunderstanding. What we said is that whenever there is some job that can be done by AI, and it can be done really well, then we're unlikely to hire contractors to do that job.
It's like, no, there's no issue here. You all misunderstood. You can't read. Take our reading course and learn how to read, reading comprehension. He's like, you misunderstood the email, and this was an internal email. I feel like he said that little part of like, oh, this was an internal email, so we could understand that we weren't even supposed to see this. Nobody misunderstood something, right? You are AI first now. And by being AI first, you're going to gradually stop using contractors that used to do the job as humans that is now being replaced by AI. AI is going to do the jobs. So effectively, humans have lost jobs. You're not going to use those contractors anymore. Nobody misunderstood anything. Like, stop with the BS. This is what I'm saying. Why doesn't he come on here and say, yeah, we want to increase our profits, so we're not going to hire anymore. We're automating things. We're using AI. We're replacing humans. Yeah, you're still going to get backlash, right? But at least you get backlash for being honest instead of trying to use these words and this wording it in a way almost like lawyers do to get around the truth of it.
Already at the moment, most of the things that AI can do, we're not hiring contractors to do. So this is not a huge change. And for our full-time employees, there's no change whatsoever. We're going to continue employing them because this is such a big opportunity that we're going to be investing quite a bit.
Again, I feel like he's misunderstanding the point. People aren't arguing that Duolingo is laying off people. People are arguing that by effectively being AI first, again, humans are second, you're not hiring as many people. If you're not hiring people to do the work, you're only keeping the employees that you have, then effectively it's like the inverse of laying off. You're just not hiring. And if you're already replacing certain employees, and you're working to be more AI first and to use AI in more things, then effectively you are at some point getting rid of humans altogether, right? Because if today AI could replace everything that employees were doing in the company, they would do it. It's just we're not there yet. There's no misunderstanding here. You're putting profits ahead of everyone else like most tech companies do. Just admit it. I work in tech, and recently I've just been going down this rabbit hole of really understanding how tech is affecting us, not only as users, but as people who live in societies. I have several video ideas I want to do around how tech is using this like empowerment, marketing, and innovative features that are really harming us in a lot of ways. And they say it's all for us, the consumer, but we're really the product. If that sounds like something you're interested in, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great day.